In this follow-up video, we discuss Hoffman World Trade Unit. Welcome to Silver Bar Stacker, folks. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying their day. Now today we're going to do a quick video about a follow-up topic from something that we discussed actually a couple videos ago. And it was actually something that we just discussed very briefly because we were actually doing an unboxing video where we were just quickly going through some new items that we had seen. So actually one of the items that we were talking about was actually a trade unit, which was recently discovered and put up on the Engelhard website in the Hoffman and Hoffman section. And this particular round that we were unboxing and discussing was actually a 1974 trade unit, and that particular round is actually right here in front of us. What it is it's got this 1974 date there on the bottom, and it's got these two globes and the World Trade symbol right there under there. A beautiful toner is what this one is, and this is actually the item that was recently, around the time that I uploaded the video a couple weeks ago, they had added this, maybe a little bit prior to that, they had added this onto the website, and that's what had kind of prompted me to make that video, was that, hey, this 500 vintage round was something I recently picked up, and hey, it happens to be there on the Engelhard website. Now, what I had also discussed during that short segment where I discussed this round and where I unboxed this round was that there's actually a couple other variants. Now, those variants included another 1974 trade unit that looked very, very identical to this one right here on the reverse. But on the obverse, you would note that actually the 1974 date on that other version was actually on the top. And so this is the round that I didn't show you in person, but actually that I had showed a picture of, because it is something that I had also been in the process of collecting, because to me these rounds look very similar here, so when I flipped them over I thought, hey, that's another variant, I'm going to collect that one as well. Now lo and behold, a couple weeks later, after we had made that video and we had kind of inquired about this, we had posed the question like, hey, is this a Hoffman? It wasn't on Engelhard at that time. A couple weeks later, or maybe a week later, sometime between 2 weeks ago and now, they've actually now recently added this. Apparently, some contributor of the website has recently discovered this round. Actually, in reality, I reached out to Engelhard multiple months ago and actually informed them about these other two types, both this 1974 with the date on the top, as well as this 1973 version here, which is not yet listed on Engelhard, but I have an inkling it may be added there because truthfully, this reverse is identical as well. So, to me, if this one's a Hoffman, which I'm already skeptical about, these two probably have to be Hoffmans. Now we've confirmed, according to Engelhard at least, that this is a Hoffman, and they're saying that this is a 100 vintage round. I'm skeptical about that, because actually when it comes down to these three types, this is the one that I see the most frequently. And I was already skeptical about the low mintage figure on this 500 vintage version, and I'm even more skeptical about this because this is something that I've seen more than this. And truthfully, I know multiple individuals have seen multiple of these over the decades as well, including probably that 1973. In fact, last week on Whatnot, I was attending an auction for some other seller, and I don't normally buy things on Whatnot or attend auctions, but I happened to just be tuned in, and lo and behold, I had seen this 1973 trade unit, and it was a fast-paced auction, and I'm not used to, honestly, purchasing stuff on auctions, so I actually missed the item. I lost it, and the person who won it accidentally butt bid, meaning they accidentally bid on the item and didn't even mean to bid, and they ended up winning this item. This very item for 32 bucks. That is crazy to me because I rarely ever see these 1973 dated World Trade units. I just sold one recently for 100 bucks, which I felt was a reasonable price above what I had to pay for it myself. And I was so sad that I missed out on it at 32 bucks. But truthfully, these types of instances happen where you might be able to find something like this in the LCS. And these particular designs, I feel, have been made in larger quantities than just 500 or 100 vintage. So to me, I'm a little bit skeptical about that mintage figure. I take that with a grain of salt. I use that maybe as a starting point. Maybe that is something that was determined based off of what they believe is the occurrence rate. But from my experience, the occurrence rate is much higher on this. And to me, personally, I've seen more of these. I've got more of these. I would have an incentive to tell you that there's fewer of these given that the estimated mintage is 100. But truthfully, I really have seen a lot more of these than these, and I've also seen more of these than would lead me to believe that it's a mintage of 500. Because when it comes down to 500 mintage or 100 mintage items, if we're talking about Engelhards as an example, there are 500 mintage Engelhard 1 ounce bars that I've sold for almost $1,000, and there are 1 ounce rounds that are 500 mintage I've sold almost $2,000. And then when it comes down, in fact, more than $2,000, I can think of an Engelhard round. So that's what a 500 mintage round should be selling for, truthfully, in my opinion, if the mintage figure is likely to be accurate. And when it comes down to 100 mintage Engelhard bars and rounds, well, my friends, something like that is something I would probably sell for $2,000 or more, right? So to me, that's kind of the price point you should be looking at when it comes down to something of a mintage at Lowe's. That's why I'm very skeptical about these mintage figures, okay? When it comes down to the 1970, when that is added, my estimation would be that there's fewer of these produced than these two, but that's just me. That's just me, and that's just based off of my assessment of the market. When it comes down to mintage figures on all Engelhard or anywhere else, you got to take those as a starting point. A lot of people like to treat that like the Bible or the end-all be-all, but a lot of times these mintage figures were not cataloged, and so a lot of times it becomes a mixture of what is actually the mintage estimate, maybe based off of your assessment of serial number ranges as an example, or it could also be that plus a combination of what you believe to see on the market is what has been occurring on the market over the past several decades. My assessment leads me to believe that there's probably several thousand of these out there at least, rather than mintage figure in the hundreds. But at the end of the day, we got to use that as a starting point, and then use our knowledge of what we assess on the market, and use that knowledge holistically to determine how we want to move forward with how we collect and stack our silver. So I hope you found this breakdown a little bit interesting. I still have many questions about these World Trade Units. Another question I have is, hey, if Hoffman made these World Trade Units in the early 1970s, well, what happened between then and the early 1980s, which is when they have most of their other dated pieces? That gap leads me to believe that, hey, I need to do a little bit more research and think about the information more holistically. So I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching. Cheers. Oh, and if you haven't had a chance to yet, be sure to check out our social media landing page at solo.to/silverbarstacker. There you can find our direct website link, which is silverbarstacker.com, as well as our links to our other social media channels, such as this very YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our TikTok page, our Twitter page, and we also have the link to our Whatnot page, which is where we actually run our live auctions and actually also have all of these same SBS drops that we hold. We run those same drops on our Whatnot store, and we also have live auctions happening literally all the time. So the way that you can be notified about those auctions is to be following us there on whatnot.com/user/silverbarstacker. And we hope to see you there, folks. Thank you, and have a great day.